guys, and welcome to today's video. So in today's video, I'm going to be continuing my top 5 drugstore series where I talk about my favorite 5 products from every drugstore category. I'll link the playlist down below if you haven't seen all the other videos. I have a lot of videos pretty much covering everything from the drugstore. So if you are in search of a drugstore product and want to know my top 5 recommendations, definitely check out that playlist. But today's subject is going to be drugstore powder foundations, because I know there are a lot of you that are new to makeup that maybe don't like the idea of wearing a liquid all over your face. You feel much more comfortable with wearing a powder foundation. And then I know there are others of you that are super comfortable with makeup and prefer a very full coverage, and these types of powder foundations can be worn over liquid foundations to create a super full coverage effect. As always, these are my personal top 5 favorites. They may not be your favorites may not be my favorites, but these are my top picks. If I don't share your top pick, definitely leave it down in the comments below, and hopefully everyone will leave this video with a good idea of a perfect drugstore powder foundation for them. So with that, let's go ahead and get right into the first one. All right, so the first foundation I want to talk about is actually the only loose powder foundation that I've found that I really like from the drugstore, and I think it's the closest there is to a dupe for Bare Minerals, and it is the L'Oreal True Match Mineral Gentle Mineral Makeup. This comes in 12 different shades. It has an SPF of 19, and it's talc, preservative, and fragrance free, so I'd recommend this especially if you have sensitive skin. This has a natural buildable coverage, so depending on the type of brush you use, you can go for a very light coverage or a very full coverage, as is the case with most foundations. The denser the brush, the fuller the coverage. I like this especially for beginners because it does come with a brush, so if you don't own any makeup brushes, you'll have this one to go ahead and start with, and I think it does a decent job of applying the product all over the face. I have mine in the shade Nude Beige, which works for me when I don't have any self-tanner on, so if you usually are a match with me for foundations, this shade is really nice. It has a good neutral to warm undertone, and like I said, the best dupe that I've found for Bare Minerals foundation. So if that's been your go-to for years and you want to find something a little bit more affordable, definitely recommend this one. All right, next up is the powder foundation that I think is the best one out of all the ones I'm going to mention for oily skin, and it is the NYX Stay Matte But Not Flat Powder Foundation, and that's a really great way to describe it because it keeps me matte, it keeps my oily skin matte, but it doesn't just take the life out of my face. You can still see some natural oils coming through, and I think that makes it look a lot more natural. This is $9.99, which is a really decent price for a powder foundation. It does come with this sponge applicator as well, which I really appreciate, and it has a mirror. So this is the kind of product you can apply in the morning, stick in your purse, and reapply throughout the day, especially if you are working very long shifts or if you live in a really hot or humid environment. This one has 25 different shade options, which I really appreciate. NYX is usually really good about providing a lot of different shade options, and this is no exception. Again, if you're a match with me, this is the shade Warm Beige, and I think it's a perfect shade. I use this on its own as well as on top of other foundations if I want something really bulletproof, full coverage. I think this one is an amazing dupe for the MAC Studio Finish Powder Foundation. They both provide really decent coverage, great for oily skin, can layer on top of liquid foundations, and are buildable on their own to a pretty decent medium to full coverage. So especially for you oily skin girls out there, I would definitely recommend this one. All right, next up is a foundation that's actually grown on me a lot. This is the Ulta Double Duty Powder Foundation. I also own the Ulta Mineral Powder Foundation, and I don't like this one as much as the pressed version personally, and I think this is probably the best one for normal to dry skin, because when my skin is feeling drier and I still want to wear a powder foundation, this is the one that I'll go for. It has more of a moisturizing formula, and it contains silica, which really helps products to apply smoothly to the skin. As long as that's not an ingredient that irritates your skin, it really does help things apply more smoothly to drier skin. This one comes in 8 shades and is definitely on the pricier side. That said, Ulta is constantly running deals on Ulta brand products, so you can get this for a really decent price. I have mine in the shade Warm. It's a perfect match for me. Again, this one comes with a little sponge applicator you can stick in your purse. The only downside is this mirror in here is pretty lame. I don't understand these halfway mirrors. Just fill up the whole thing. I would say the coverage on this one is very similar to the NYX one. This one though is better for oily skin. This is is better for drier skin. I wanted to give an option for you dry skin ladies out there that watch my channel, because you know I have oily skin, but I try and think of you guys as well. All right, the next one is from Physicians Formula. I absolutely love this powder, so I have to put it in here. But of course, I have to go ahead and put the disclaimer out. This only comes in 3 shades. They're all 3 very light shades. Physicians Formula, please come out with more shades for deeper skin tones. It's just not cool. But again, I had to put this one in here because this was my holy grail go-to powder when I was suffering with acne. This is their Mineral Wear powder. I don't think they even call it a powder foundation, but you can definitely use this as a powder foundation. This is hypoallergenic, fragrance-free, and non-comedogenic, which is the recipe for not going to irritate sensitive or acne-prone skin. And the way that I would use this when I was really struggling with acne is when I would go ahead and put on foundation and then put concealer over all of my blemishes, by the end of the day, they were all poking through. All my blemishes were just out saying hello to everyone, and I was just feeling really insecure about going out in public because you guys know fighting acne is a struggle. So what I started to do after moisturizing, SPF, and all that fun stuff was apply concealer onto the areas where I had really bad spots, and I would set them with just a little bit of this powder, and not only would it set the concealer to where it didn't budge and give me a ton more coverage. This has a shocking amount of coverage, but it also allowed me to apply even a liquid foundation over top of all of that, and those things stayed covered all day long. It was like the only routine that worked for me for filming videos and making sure they stayed covered, or for going out for long periods of time. And then you can also use this obviously just as a regular powder foundation, but I wanted to highlight the way that I personally used it and why I think it's so special and ended up here in my top 5 favorites. All right, and then the last one is another new find for me. This is the Burt's Bees Mattifying Powder Foundation. I put this in a favorites video and told you guys I was using this to set my Misha BB cream that I always use and other liquid foundations, and it was doing a good job of keeping me matte but still looking healthy and glowy. It's what I used today. This one I have in the shade Bamboo, which works for me when I put it on top of something. It's a little light for me just on its own, but I can get away with it because this is a sheer to light coverage. If the tinted moisturizer I talked about in that tutorial for beginners seems like scary to you because you have very oily skin, this is another great base option for those of you with oily skin because it is mattifying, but it's going to give you that sheer to light coverage, and it's lightweight and non-comedogenic. So if you're new to makeup, you want something that's not going to irritate your skin, and this one won't. It hasn't irritated mine, and I have very irritable skin. This is the most expensive one out of all the ones that I've mentioned, but I do think that it comes with a very high quality formula. It also does come with a mirror and a sponge, so another one you can throw in your purse and touch up with throughout the day. So another great option for oily skin if you like something a little bit more sheer than the next one. So those are my top 5 favorite drugstore powder foundations. I really hope you guys found this video helpful. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and click that subscribe button, and I will see you guys in my next video.